This podcast may contain explicit language. I'm late for a very important date. Alice in Wonderland is next. Welcome to the Greatest Movie of All Time podcast, the show that uses a unique rating style to redefine what the greatest movies are. I'm Tom Duncan.
And I'm Dana Duncan.
Tonight, for our 323rd episode, we discuss Alice in Wonderland from 1951, celebrating its 75th anniversary. Directed by Clyde Geronimi, Wilfred Jackson, and Hamilton Lusky. Written by 13 different credited writers, which I won't go through the trouble of listing all 13. We also had music by Oliver Wallace and editing by Lloyd L. Richardson, with voiceovers by Catherine Beaumont as Alice, Ed Wynn as the Mad Hatter, Richard Hayden as the Caterpillar, Sterling Holloway as the Cheshire Cat, Jerry Colonna as the March Hare, Verna Felton as the Queen of Hearts, J. Pat O'Malley as Tweedledum and Tweedledee, the Walrus and the Carpenter, Bill Thompson as the White Rabbit and the Dodo, Heather Angel as Margaret, Joseph Kearns as Doorknob, Larry Gray as Bill the Lizard, Dink Trout as the King of Hearts, Jimmy McDonald as Dormouse, and Clarence Nash as Dinah. Background for the movie: based on Alice's adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland opened on July 28, 1951 in New York. On a budget of $3 million, the film would roughly earn $2.4 million domestically and would not finish inside the top 10 for the year. It was mostly critically dashed at the time, with many critics decrying the lack of adhesion to the Lewis Carroll books as well as the lukewarm entertainment of the film. Yet, it was still nominated for one Oscar, original score for Oliver Wallace. The film and the book, though, still holds some cultural sachet for phrases such as down the rabbit hole, a Cheshire grin, and popular character names like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Disney has still included Alice throughout its theme parks, has made a stage musical of the film, and authorized a live-action adaptation by Tim Burton and Johnny Depp in 2010 that grossed over $1 billion. Alice in Wonderland currently holds an 82% among critics on Rotten Tomatoes, a 68 score on Metacritic, and a 3.8 out of 5 on Letterboxd. But we can't do this by ourselves, so we bring in two supreme veterans of the show, longtime guests, our returning celebrity guests for the evening. First up, let us welcome back in our second most often recurring guest, the host and creator of the Best Picture cast, a CLP contributor and a 5-time club member, making his 20th appearance on the show today and earning his hoodie. It's the Irish Iron Man from Long Island. Please welcome back, Kieran B.
Hello, and a very merry unbirthday to the three of you. I'm glad to be back. I've been called a lot of things. You know, the Mad Hatter, I don't know, is one of them, but I'm usually wearing a hat on here. And no, I'm glad to do my first stab at an animation G mode.
How does Dick with Hat compare to Mad Hatter?
Mad Hatter is kind of a dick with a hat. I'll say that. So there's some adjacent qualities there, but I don't know.
That is a callback, so if you want to figure that out, you'll have to search throughout Kieran's 20 appearances on the show previously to figure out where that reference came from.
Yes, dive into the back catalog.
But that being said, we also welcome our most frequent guest, making her record 22nd appearance on the show to date, my mother, the Golden Age Gourmet. Please welcome back, Christine Duncan. Nothing to say
Hello.
for yourself?
Not really.
Yeah, okay.
22 appearances and
22 appearances.
yeah, you don't know you're supposed to say hi when You're introduced. Okay.
Yes, okay. So, hello, everybody.
That'll make it into the episode just after a week after her doing the hustle to open up Princess Diaries.
I was definitely wishing I was watching on video as I was listening to that today in Home Depot.
I didn't know a Home Depot trip was in the cards.
Yes. It was. It just was serendipitous. I was there today, the morning of a record, listening to the previous week's episode. It all just came together down my little rabbit hole I went.
He ties it in nicely. So welcome, both of you.
I said I was going to say something about the Golden Age gourmet. I'm not that old. Oh no, crickets.
Yeah, so as I gave to you on your 40th birthday in a card, if it's too loud, you're too old. And I'm sorry, the music has often been too loud for you.
Been too loud since we got married.
Yeah, I was going to say for years. Now that I lost my hearing in my left ear, it's troublesome, yeah.
I mean, The Who cannot be played at a volume of like under 7. It just doesn't.
It can just
work.
not be played. I don't have an appreciation for the Who.
Clearly.
I like it. Who shots right out of the gate?
Yeah. Well, welcome to both of you. This is a first-time pairing between the two of you, and kind of an interesting combination that you two would be on for the same movie. You guys usually pick different things. But that being said, we kind of have danced around. So earlier this week, Kieran messaged me on the side, as he normally does in preparation and just asking some other questions. And unlike most of our guests, he goes much further than I actually ask him to do by usually listening to several back catalog episodes, trying to get a feel for things we've done in the past, which I don't even do myself. So all praise to that. But he asked me whether or not we'd done any Disney traditional animated films, non-Pixar versions. To this point, we have not done any of the original Disney classics. We've not done any of the more recent Disney animated classics of the 90s. We haven't done Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast or Little Mermaid or any of those more modern ones. We haven't done a Snow White, although I think we are set to do that next year. And we have not covered Dumbo or Peter Pan.
Yes,
anything.
And we wouldn't even need to watch Peter Pan. I have that.
That's true.
I have that burned into my memory. Because there was this little boy who used to, every Saturday, if Mom was working, what do you want to do? Watch Peter Pan. All right, we finished Peter Pan. What do you want to do? Watch Peter Pan. We'd watch Peter Pan 3 times in a row.
And then
what else
he would
do you do with a
hop
good
around
movie?
the house. I'm following the leader. Yeah.
Well, then I would fight Captain Hook with a cardboard tube.
Yep, a
as my
tube
sword.
from wrapping paper.
That's what you do. You recreate films in real life.
There you go.
Unless you're with Charlie Sheen.
You jump on the sofa.
Well, I was going to say, Steven Spielberg didn't become Steven Spielberg until he started trying to recreate films in real life. But regardless, so this is the first time we've covered any sort of Disney animated throwback classic of the old cell variety, especially something that is much older. I'm not even sure the original 90s films really were done on the cells in the same capacity. I think some of it had to do with they probably digitized some of that process. But this film, you can really tell from almost the opening shots that it's on the cell framings and how the movement is in interjection to that. So we have our hands full tonight. We haven't really covered anything like this, especially in animation going back this far. But let's just start as we normally do. What is everybody's relationships to the film? Let's start with you, Dad.
Well, when I was a very little boy, probably 5, 6, I had
many millennia ago.
33 and a third, a long play, an album of Disney songs. And so several of these were on there.
Okay.
And had an old record player, and I would play them. And you could go around and around the stairs and the furnace in my parents' basement so I could ride my trike all the time. So I would go down there in the winters and play this and ride my trike around and around and around. Many hours of listening to these songs and riding my trike.
When did you first see the movie, though?
Just this week.
Mom, had you seen the movie before?
I did, and actually I've read the book multiple times. So I was an avid reader when I was much younger, and this was a favorite book of mine, but I was very young. I must have been 9, maybe 10 years old at the time. And then I did see the movie. Somehow it was on a rerun or something like that on television, and watched it. I remember sitting in front of the TV and seeing it for the first time. I don't remember it being very good then. The book I enjoyed much more. Yeah, I probably hadn't seen it until this week for a long time, probably like 45 years ago. So
I was going to say 50 likely years ago.
yeah, it may have been as much as just 50, unfortunately.
Back when Walt Disney hosted his own show on NBC, The Wonderful World of Disney,
Yeah.
every once in a while they would put one of the classics on and show it.
Okay. I have an inkling as to why, but why did the book appeal to you when you were young?
I think because it was fun. And because it was funny. There's a lot of great lines in this film, if nothing more. And yeah, there's a lot of oddity, down the rabbit hole, or I'm curiouser and curiouser, and so we would say that as kids. Stephanie and I and Trish would run around and say that. So I don't know. I think it was because it was a little bit magical.
So moving to our guest from the vaunted VHS lounge with his VHS copy, which he did watch specifically.
Right here.
There you go.
That's right. I have this is the 1984 original release. You see the Black Diamond Classics as you go on there. You get the tape itself here. Look at that bad boy.
Were you kind and rewind?
I never rewind because it's better for the tapes. Just a little nugget there for you. But yeah, so this thing is probably about as old as I am. Maybe a year younger. But no, I this was, as Dana was talking about with Peter Pan, this would be one of the ones that was burned into my memory as a kid, was on all the time. We had the VHS back then, and I was also a big Disney Channel kid. And the Disney Channel, before it moved to like their original sitcom kind of era, it was a lot of animated shorts and animated movies, and would just play on loop. So I got a lot of like those Mickey and Pluto and Goofy. We're probably talking early 90s, late 80s, like that time there. So you're getting a lot of that. And Alice in Wonderland was one of the ones that was on all the time. And what drew me to that, I think what you were saying there, Christine, is that there's a lot of oddity to it, and it's kind of a dark movie in a lot of respects. But it was very fascinating to me, and the animation is obviously a standout as well. They also had like a live action miniseries of Alice in Wonderland that was definitely dark. That had like the Jabberwocky in it and all that. It was a little more expansive and I think closer to the novel itself. There might even have been like a little mini series too, which was more of like a true children's show. So there was a lot of Alice in Wonderland content kicking around there in the early 90s, late 80s there. So that's kind of where my history is with it. I want to say I probably revisited it again in adulthood, maybe about 10 years ago or so, and then watched it again for this. So as I said, it's a lot of it came right back to you just because of how many times you saw it as a youth.
This is the first time I have ever seen the film in any sort of totality. I think I've seen small clips or like the equivalent of a GIF at some point or another. I knew of several of the characters. I think the only major connection to the movie itself, we had all of those illustrated hardcover books of all of the animated movies back when I was a very small kid. We still have a bunch of those in the basement.
Yes, we do.
But I want to say this was one of them, so I knew roughly the timeline and progression of the story, but I'd never actually sat down and watched this. I really didn't know any of the songs or anything else, so I thought, like a lot of movies we kind of get around to eventually on the show, I would just try and go in relatively clean and kind of figure it out from there. But I think I got the idea of the film. I don't know if it washed over me with a certain level of fondness or nostalgia that I think for other people it may have. I think I understand it. I just don't know if it resonated with me in the same way that it does with others. But let's talk about this more generally and back out just for a second, since this is the first time that we've really covered any of the traditional Disney animation. Obviously, all of us in some way, shape, or form grew up with some version of this as we were children. How does that affect your appreciation of the genre of animation or inform it as you've kind of grown up?
Well, I mean, like you said, I would say that everyone, more or less, I would think, maybe everyone is a little too general, but most people have some sort of relationship with one or a few of the Disney animated classics and quote, because that's going to be different based on your age group. I mean, for some, like an Aladdin is a real throwback classic. For me, it was like, came out as I was into with this stuff already. So your real nostalgic hits are going to vary. The results will vary for the person, like whether you grew up watching Pinocchio all the time or Peter Pan all the time or Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty. But there is a relationship that's built. I have a 10-month-old, and the two that are on every day in my household that I could recite them just word for word because I hear them every day are Dumbo and Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. And for whatever it is about those, he just becomes completely enamored when it comes on. He's like, you try other things, we'll just squirm and roll away. But those two, the second it clicks in, he stops, he's locked in, and he's sucked into the world. So it's interesting how that works. Even with a 10-month-old, there are certain things that strike with you and you stick with it, and others that, I'd put on an Aladdin and nope, not interested. You put on Bambi, nope, not interested. A lot of it's probably the music and the score and the ones that are filled with more of a score probably. But it is funny how we, at an early age, become indoctrinated with the animation and grow up through it, and it teaches us how to watch movies in a sense.
I would say that's very true. I think for me, though, there feels like a separation in the genre. It feels like when you're very young and you grow up with certain Disney movies or Pixar movies, those are for children, and they're aimed and targeted specifically towards children. And so it feels, especially for me, like when the Disney films used to release every summer in the 90s, I had Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast and Pocahontas and Mulan and The Lion King all in basically consecutive years up through, I think Tarzan was like one of the last ones that was in that kind of string of them for a while. But at a certain point in time, it felt like you had to graduate as a moviegoer from that to whatever was next, and the live action and the adult content and whatever else. Because at a certain point, you felt that animation was only for children, and so we kind of gate kept this. And this was a discussion we had a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Spirited Away. Other cultures, other film cultures, have a much greater appreciation for adult content and adult themes in animation. And I think the animated environment has definitely changed as we've had different filmmakers more recently trying adapting different works through that. But for me, I felt, and I still think, it's not just me. I think a lot of American culture separates those two, that animated seems to be just for children to a lot of people. And I'm not sure that's necessarily true.
No, because the first one that became really big when you were young, Thomas, was Aladdin, and there was so much adult content in the movie
Thank you, Robin
Aladdin.
Williams.
Yes, that it made it pleasurable again, I think, for adults. And where you say there's a separation, yes, I think that there is. It's the Sleeping Beauties and the Snow Whites, and the you can just tell the difference in the animation there. And then there seems to be this gap, and then was Aladdin and the Lion King, and it's so much better. And there is adult content in those, enough that it would keep the adults interested while they took their children. And I never felt guilty about watching any of those because they were just as funny for me as they were for you, and pleasurable. Growing up, I watched Snow White I don't know how many times. I read the book I don't know how many times. My grandparents had a book that had pages from the animated series in the book. And so, I would read that over, and I would read it to my sister and my cousins. And so, so it was much more than just the movie. We also had the books, and the animation in the books followed the animation from the movies. So it was very enjoyable as a child, and to pass that on to my children. And I, like I said, remembered, you know, Dad and I taking you to see Aladdin and enjoying it more probably than even you did.
Well, when Aladdin came out, I don't think I really comprehended what was going on for a few years yet.
Yeah.
The first real movie that I remember seeing in theaters was The Lion King. If that gives a frame of reference.
Mine is Oliver and Company.
Oh, sure. Okay.
A little bit earlier, but I figured it out that and Land Before Time came out in the same summer, and those would have been the first two times I'd been to the movie theater. So I don't know which one came first, but those would be the first two.
First animated film I saw in the theaters? Aladdin, when I took you. Never saw any of these.
Wasn't an event when you were younger?
Watched them? None of them. I mean, my first movie I went to the theater and saw was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. When movies came on, my dad had me sit down and watch The Dirty Dozen and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and True Grit. That's what I grew up watching. I did not watch animated films at all. Just was never anything that was encouraged.
I distinctly remember my rotation, maybe past the initial Peter Pan days, as we see the True Grit VHS copy here on the video feed. I think I had The Rescuers. The Rescuers Down Under was a bigger one than the original Rescuers. The Great Mouse Detective, Robin Hood.
Lady and the Tramp.
I didn't really wear that one out, but Aladdin became a staple. The Return of Jafar became a bigger staple when I was like 6 or 7. I'm trying to remember. There's a few in there that became bigger ones, but at a certain point, even though I know it was a huge movie, I had such difficulty with The Lion King because of how Mufasa dies. That was like too emotional for me.
Yeah, this is such an interesting choice for the first Disney classic, because like as you mentioned, I would, I'm not criticizing it, but it's like there are like the three pillars of Disney are Snow White, which helped them create his empire, Cinderella, which helped them build the parks, the success of that, and then Beauty and the Beast, which essentially saved the company and propelled them into their next wave. Christine, you brought about how like everything was so different once it got to Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Aladdin, and a lot of that has to do with Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, who basically took a step back with Little Mermaid and said, let's make this like a Broadway production. Let's make it like a Broadway musical, as opposed to just having animation and some music behind. Let's really make this feel like you're at Broadway. And those movies all feel that way. And then a lot of them led the way for actual Broadway musical productions. Alice in Wonderland, this comes out like right after Cinderella, I think. So they have some money to push around and they're doing the parks, and you can see them kind of play with the animation and play with the money that they're working with. So when I saw this on the list to pick, I just went, that's an interesting entity on this list here.
Mom, you said that you read the book as a child. Did anyone else read the book?
I did in college, recreationally. We'll put it that way.
So I'll pose this question to the two of you. Is this a good and faithful adaptation of the book, or is this kind of its own thing?
It's been so many years since I read the book anymore. I always think the books are better. Always.
Yes, the person who said the exact same thing on Gone with the Wind.
Oh my gosh, the book is so much better with that too. But I think it follows the story. I don't think when I read the book and I see the movie that I see the movie that Walt Disney put together. You know, as you read, you imagine things in your head, and sometimes characters don't look like what they put in the movie then either, right? And you have a totally different idea. So it follows it, but I'm not sure that when I read the book, this is what I was imagining.
Yeah,
Okay.
And it's been a while for me too. And when I read it, like I said, I wasn't exactly reading it to write a paper on it. I was kind of just skimming through it. But from what I understand, and I could be corrected on this one, it seems like they more or less pulled a vibe from the book and then put a Disney movie together, as opposed to adapting the source material. Let's get the characters, a couple characters. Alice is going to do a little run through of Wonderland, and then she's going to wake up, and we're good. We have our animation. We'll mix some music in, and we got ourselves a 75-minute film that we can put out there and make some money on.
Yeah, you mentioned that it's a darker film, and I could definitely see that, but it has the Disney like rose-colored glasses that it seemingly applies to some oddball material, where it feels like it puts a positive spin on certain characters that could be a much darker tint. So that's why I'm curious, maybe not to the level that I really need to go out and rush to see it, because I'm not the biggest Tim Burton or Johnny Depp fan, but at least seeing the live action version where both of them adapting something that's much more macabre, and given their proclivities and sensibilities, I wonder if that's a better adaptation to the book, especially because they did a sequel on the other book, and this is somehow combining two books into one.
I got to be honest, I didn't make it through it. I turned it off. It was, to me, was just brutal. And the first one basically is a sequel from what I gathered of it. Alice is essentially returning to Wonderland. But I don't know. That did not work for me. I know some people love them, but it just did not work for me at all. Okay. It was an easy one to walk away from.
I never saw it, so because I don't like anything he does, so it was never an option for me.
I'm sorry, Mom. I know you're a Hidden Corpse Bride fan.
Yeah, right.
That being said, Dad, do you have our plot summary ready for us?
I do. Bored with her lessons, young Alice follows a fretful white rabbit down a hole into Wonderland, a topsy-turvy world where she shrinks, grows, and meets a cast of eccentrics. A riddling caterpillar, a grinning Cheshire Cat, the tea-mad Hatter, and the March Hare. Her quest to find a way home leads to the court of the fearsome Queen of Hearts, whose short temper and cry of, "Off with her head!" threatens Alice at every turn. After a chaotic trial, Alice finally stands up for herself and wakes up realizing it was all her own dream.
Thank you, Dad. So I will pose, as we do every week, what is the film about?
All right, I'll take a stab at it. I would, it's a little tricky to answer this question sometimes when you have like a set piece heavy entity, but I'll take it as is. This is, and I think you posed this on last week's show as a coming of age story for a young woman, Tom, which in many ways it is. And in the very beginning of the movie, Alice says, I wish the world was like how I imagine it in my imagination. And what I take from what this movie about is how the young mind manages their imagination and picture of the world as he or she is learning to turn that imagination into reality.
There are some pieces there that I'd like to work with. In my mind, for what I understood, some of the early portion of this film is very informative to how the rest of the film goes. And I would agree with your sentiment that her interpretation of the world is somewhat of a fantasy of what she'd like the world to be. She sees it as this serious place where she wants to be much more whimsical. Then the story, to me, takes the turn where be careful what you wish for, because you may actually get it. And it becomes a visual learning tool of a logical concept called reductio ad absurdum, which is taking something to its most absurd or ridiculous level to prove that it's a fallacy in essence. In this particular case, her dream state, Wonderland, becomes the realization of everything nonsensical that she wishes the world would be. And in that, she realizes that this isn't actually what she wants, and she wants the world to be as it actually is. And therefore, essentially proving the fallacy of her own wishes.
It's supposed to be summer break, Tom.
Yeah.
Well, I technically have an oral argument in 2 days, and then it's summer break.
No, that's spot on. I love that.
But I was going to say, I don't have a whole lot more to add other than the fact that, yes, I believe that the whole Wonderland is a fantasy of what she feels her life would be like if it could be like what she wanted. But then it was so confusing and so curious to her, and nothing fit right, that when she woke up, she was really glad that it was the way it should be, that things are okay the way they are. And so she dealt with the realization that her life was all right, just as it was.
Dad, do you want to jump in here and give us your letterboxed review that you've been spouting to everyone for the last week?
Oh, I got to look this up.
I'm just gonna make a comment first, which is, when you look at this film and you look at Peter Pan and you look at so many of the Jungle Book and you look at Mary Poppins and such, so many of the Disney films that were handpicked by Walt are about children struggling to grow up. And I stop and wonder about, this is a man who made his entire career drawing animated characters and creating fantasy worlds. And it's wonder if it's Walt's own expose of himself that he never quite completely grew up. And so he had a proclivity towards those stories.
Either that or he saw a need that needed filling.
Well, they often tell people to write about what they know and draw from their own experiences. So it would stand to reason that a creator or a filmmaker would gravitate towards things that mean a lot to them.
As far as my letterbox review, it was boring, boring, boring. Did I mention this was boring? Question mark.
How many stars, Dad?
1.5.
Ooh.
And I think it was predominantly for the animators.
Well, we know where you're going to be going with best performance then.
That's exactly right.
Did you know? In the Walrus and the Carpenter sequence, the R in the word March on the Mother Oyster's calendar flashes. This alludes to the old adage about only eating oysters in a month with an R in its name. That is because those months without an R, May, June, July, and August, are the summer months in England, when oysters would not keep due to the heat in the days before refrigeration.
Damn, I had oysters last night, too. July. J-U-L-Y. Damn it.
Julyer?
July.
Did you know? The movie took 5 years to complete, but was in development for over 10 years before it entered active production. That is a long time.
They got the money to do it.
Did you know? The Mad Hatter is apparently based on the phrase mad as a hatter, which has a historical basis. In the hat industry of the 19th century, there was an extensive use of mercury. Liquid mercury is one of the causes of mercury poisoning, which, among other things, causes brain damage. Among the symptoms are slurred speech, memory loss, tremors, and behavior that can be seen as insane. Apparently, Dad's been around some mercury lately. Did you know? This movie has more songs and characters than any other Disney animated film. I find that hard to believe for the songs, not the characters. There are a lot of characters in this movie.
With the music, if that's the case, I will make the statement that it is certainly quantity over quality, because this does not have a song that stands the test of time in the movie.
No, I was going to say most of them are forgettable.
Yeah. I don't think there's any one that I could pick out and say I really remember it, and we just watched it last Friday.
Mm-hmm. I had to stop and think of whether there was music in it.
Well, that I could have told you. That's not hard to find. I mean, but whatever. Did you know? Continuing the pattern of film versions of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland not being commercially successful, this movie was a huge box office failure. However, it did become something of a cult film during the 60s, where it was viewed as a hid film. That's in quotes. It actually is also a reference to the original version of what was a cinephile film. Several years later, it became the Disney Studio's most requested 16mm film rental title for colleges and private individuals. In 1974, the studio took note of this fact, withdrew the rental prints, and reissued the film nationally themselves.
I wonder if that's because it became funnier if you were high. Some psychedelic drugs. Maybe it made more sense.
When you said head movie, I was like, you're missing a word there. You're missing the pot in front of the head. You know?
I mean, that would stand to reason, given that, what was it, 2001 made $500 million or something just on the backing of people like to take drugs and go watch that movie.
I mean, I could just envision a scene out of any Cheech and Chong film where they're sitting there watching Alice.
Well, with that, we will take our first break, and we will be right back. Before we jump back into the episode, next week for our 325th episode, we once again break a tie. This time it's between two top 10 films on the overall list, Rear Window and Casablanca. Who will come out on top? It's anyone's guess. You won't want to miss that one, so watch ahead of the show by searching the Real Good app to find where it's streaming for you.
That's REELGOOD.
Before we get too much further, let's check in with our guests. Let's start with Mom, because she usually doesn't have a whole lot to promote unless she's got a new bread recipe.
No, actually, Grandma and I are trying to make pickles. So we have this big garden, and we're going to have thousands of cucumbers. So we're going to be making some pickles. And yes, I tried some new bread. So some Italian sourdough.
Would those pickles fit in a bowl for another person on this episode?
They could. In fact, he actually asked us to make sweet pickle relish. So I think Grandma and I are going to try that too.
The interest is on the dill now. I at one time gave him the option of the sweet.
No. He didn't take that either. So yeah, so that's kind of a new venture. And I'm also I grow black currants, so I'm making black currant liqueur. And we had blackberries, so I'm making blackberry brandy. So we'll see how all that turns out. My raspberry liqueur is really good, so we're going to just try something else. So,
especially on pancakes.
But that's raspberry syrup, not my liqueur.
Well, we could do both. It is Wisconsin. Anything goes.
Yes, my raspberry syrup. Yes, and I have blueberry syrup in the basement too, Dana. I forgot about it, but I saw it there. So we should eat some of the blueberry too.
How else do you start off a good Sunday without a little hair of the dog? I mean, we have Bloody Marys for a reason.
Yuck.
With a beer chaser. That's the part that seemingly no other state understands. Not only do you get the Bloody Mary and you get a meal on top of it, but then you get a full pint of beer on the side.
No, usually they're small.
I don't know where you're going.
Not in most places that do good Bloody Marys, no.
Well, I wouldn't know what a good one was. They're gross.
Yeah, they
Like
combine
those
two of
there.
my least favorite things, vodka and tomato juice.
Well, I like tomato juice, but
So you hear that, bartender? You got to take the Wisconsin and learn some lessons.
Love a good Bloody Mary.
Oh, that being said, Kieran, what's going on with you? What are you working on, and where can people find you?
Yes. Well, I want to start off just by saying I love those tiebreaker episodes you guys do. That's one of my favorite things that you guys do. That last one you did with the Bridge on the River Kwai, Vertigo, and what was the third one?
The Hangover.
The Hangover, right. I mean, it's just an insane combination and a very fun listen having you navigate through all that. So I'm looking forward to next week's, and hopefully you do more in the future because it's a lot of fun. But I'm at Best Picture Cast. We go through all the Best Picture winners over there. We are nearing the end of our journey here, where I believe we have 8 films left. That's if you count the pending Odyssey that is coming next year, maybe. So we're approaching the end, and it's been a great run. We just did our season 6 rankings, which is basically our final grouping of a true 15. We rank all 15 films that we covered in the season. Some of the ones included in that rankings are $1 Million Baby, No Country for Old Men, there's Terms of Endearment, Hamlet, Kramer versus Kramer, among others. So it was a good, fun conversation. There was a very heated Oppenheimer debate battle conversation in that one. So those are always fun when the 5 of us get all red in the face at each other. So that was a good one. And we'll be doing like a little draft episode to fill out our next season. So we'll take the 8 Best Picture winners, and then we're going to take 7 other near Best Picture winners, so other nominees from 7 different decades. Different hosts will draft them, and then we'll do kind of regular episodes on those films too, so to have them be more or less honorary Best Picture winners. So that's coming up. We always do our horror draft every year and our bad movies draft every August, September. So we have that in the makings. We just did our actress draft, which was won by me. I won my own tournament. Congratulations to me. Kate Winslet.
So
and
actor and actress for you.
Yes, yeah. After 6 years of winning nothing. So it was Kate Winslet, and we're going to be doing an episode on Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Recording that early next week, should be out soon after. So Best Picture Cast, wherever you get your pods. Look us up. All of our back catalog is full and never spoiled there. You can check out all those movies. It's a good companion piece. They're long-form episodes. So if you're just watched one of the Best Picture winners, you want to work through your thoughts a little bit, it's a good companion piece to piggyback the movie with.
Would always highly recommend. It's always a lot of fun, and the rankings episodes are always worth listening to, if nothing else. But the depth and analysis from a sometimes curious cast of characters with the ever vivacious RDB, the fan favorite, is always worth the amount of time that you invest. So certainly check that out over there. One quick note, when this episode comes out, and I don't do a lot of self-promotion for the show or anything else that we normally do, but we have done a live episode that aired last Saturday, by the time this episode will come out, with a writer, director, and star of a movie that we talked about several months ago. Dana and I both went to the Beloit Film Festival, and we saw a movie that I thought kind of blew me away as a small writer, director, creator kind of combo. Very small, independent movie, great rom-com as far as I'm concerned, and I'm a sucker for those to begin with, so I'm maybe a biased audience, but we had the writer, director, creator, and star, Reed Arnold, on with us, and we discussed Crazy Stupid Love, because that was a film that he said was an influence on him while he was writing his new film that we'll be releasing here shortly. So if you're in either LA or New York, it is going to be opening or premiering there for about 1 week, maybe 2 weeks in some select theaters. And then it'll be hitting streaming, I believe, the second week of August. If I remember correctly, it's the 14th. It should be available on most major streaming platforms to at least rent. It's about 90 minutes. Well worth your time if you enjoy kind of these romantic comedy types. It's a weird love triangle. It kind of feels very much Howard Hawks throwback to me, kind of those early screwball comedy types. So if you enjoyed some of that, I think you might like this as well. I know Mom was not there with us. She had left the day before, but I had already suggested to her, because I forgot she was not with us when we originally saw it, that she would like that movie as well.
What was the name of it?
The name of the film that is going to be coming out is Do Us Part. But we were on to discuss Crazy Stupid Love, which was a film that, for a rom-com, I hadn't seen. I only caught up with it maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, something to that effect, and caught it then, and I don't know. Gosling is amazing in the film. Steve Carell's always brilliant, but yeah. So, highly recommend that one. But now that we got a little navel-gazing out of the way, we left off at Best Performances. Dad, what did you have down?
Shock! The Disney animators.
I did as well. I mean, frankly, there's a lot of characters. There's a lot of small and quick movements within the film. This seems like it was a very challenging animated film to do. Kind of similar in my mind to Fantasia, especially the Sorcerer's Apprentice scene, but on a larger or grander scale. And so, yes, I think much in the same way that we almost default to directors, the animators for me here felt like they were doing the most work.
Yeah, same here. Fantasia absolutely came to mind. There's some real great animation in this one, and for me, just did visually pops.
Well, and I always forget about nominating those people, but I actually had Catherine Beaumont because I like the lilt of her voice. She makes it fun, and it just keeps the film rolling. And so I think she did a really good job.
Now, for the sake of the audience at home, Catherine Beaumont voiced Alice, so the main title character, but I only mention that because I have her as my best secondary performance. I think I remarked about halfway through the film, boy, that they must reuse a lot of the same voices, because I could swear that this was the voice of Wendy from Peter Pan. And it was.
And it was. Yeah. Also, my secondary performance there, you wouldn't think that like a character like that would have a lot of humor, that it would just more or less be the quote-unquote straight man, or woman in this case. But there's a good amount of humor in how she reacts and processes the world that she's in. And because there's so many bit part characters around, it helps to have that anchored voice there to keep us following along with this little wacky journey.
I have Bill Thompson, who was the voice of White Rabbit. Bill Thompson had been a longtime actor and radio personality who did tons of voices animated. He was the voice of Dippy Dog also. And Smee in Peter Pan.
Which I also pointed out.
I mean, the length of things he did in animation. He did everything from animated versions of Batman to the whole range of Hanna-Barbera films into the early 60s. Unfortunately, passed of pneumonia at 58. So his career was kind of cut short. But I just thought, what better way to give him kudos than to nominate him as best secondary performance. It's easy to give the cast of characters. I mean, Sterling Holloway, who was the original voice of Winnie the Pooh, would have been a choice of mine, but I thought Bill...
He was the Cheshire Cat, right?
Yes.
Yep. So I gave it to Bill Thompson.
Mom, what did you have?
I have Ed Wynn as the Mad Hatter. He's delightful, energetic, and he plays unhinged well. So I also have him as my most charismatic, since that's the next category. But I think he is one of the most fun side characters in the film, and I think he does a good job of playing that kind of wacky, or voicing over that wacky character.
I did see at one point that they supposedly drew the character to match more or less his body type and shape and his acting quality, so that it is very much based on him, because they kind of really only saw him as able to do the voice and the character of that character specifically. And he has such a silliness to him that we can also see, for anybody that's watched the old Mary Poppins, he's the uncle that when they're floating or flying up near the ceiling is in that film as well. Yeah. So he's got kind of this loose, but I'm trying to think of the right way to say this, fun and just engaging way about him, and just even in the way he speaks is somewhat charismatic to itself.
He has a whimsical quality.
Sure. That sounds like a good way of putting it. I also had Bill Thompson, but for most charismatic, as the White Rabbit. Very similar to my father, that it's a character that every time you see him, it feels like it brings some level of levity to the film. The voice work feels authentic and unique, and yet the voice is so ingrained in your memory because you've heard it so many other times and probably several other things, that it feels familiar, not strange. And so it brings you further into the movie, much in the same way that the White Rabbit brings you down the rabbit hole.
Most charismatic for me, I kind of went in-world with this one, but I have a little three-way tie between the Mad Hatter, the March Hare, and our tea-drunken mouse. I thought they just, in their little set piece, shine the most. There was a lot of vibrant fun going on there, and there's Christine, you mentioned a little earlier about some of these animated films having things for the adults, and there's a lot of quippy humor in this film as a whole, where a lot of what they're saying will go way over any kid's head watching this thing. A dry, kind of like dry British humor, and I would say this scene is the most. So those three are really having fun with each other. I know they're not real things, but I guess we'll call the three of their voices as the charismatic thing.
My most charismatic is Walt Disney. I'm old enough, and I don't know if you were old enough to remember Walt. He wouldn't have been alive for very long after you were born,
I probably
so
watched
you would have been
reruns.
quite young. Because I got to watch him actually doing the show. He just had a quality that just it was whatever he said or did, you just believed him. There's a certain honesty to him, and a trust. And so just the fact that his stamping his name on a project automatically made it worth a lot of people bothering to go see it. I think or his vision and his influence in the movie really, as far as the quality of the film, was the overriding factor.
Let's move to Best Scene. I have 5 nominees here. I have The Walrus and the Carpenter. I have White Rabbit's House. I have The Caterpillar. I have Tea Party. And I have Queen of Hearts. For me, these probably quantified the 5 big set-piece scenes in the movie itself, especially for being only, I think our version was like 77 minutes, but roughly somewhere between 73 and 77 seemed like the rough average of all the different runtimes that I saw. But did anyone have any additional scenes to add?
Yeah, I think you forgot the one where Alice is actually going and falling down the rabbit hole. So I think that's key. I mean, that's what happens during the whole movie. So I think that for falling down into the hole and, being curious enough to go down it in the first place. I think that's key.
Yeah, and I also had the doorknob scene.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of her first encounter with the fantastical. The taking the pill, growing, then shrinking, then crying, and going through the thing, and her interaction with the doorknob too is one that's always stuck out with me.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And what I thought about that for a second, and I just remembered that I came up if the term calling somebody who's kind of dense a doorknob has some root in this film.
Yeah.
Could be.
Oh boy.
I have a feeling it probably originated well before that, but sure, we'll entertain the idea. Regardless, we have 7 nominees here. So out of Down the Rabbit Hole, Doorknob, The Walrus and the Carpenter, White Rabbit's House, The Caterpillar, Tea Party, and Queen of Hearts, what is the best scene?
Definitely the Tea Party. I think that's the most jovial. I think that's where, as Kieran was saying, things are just kind of flying and they're talking absolute nonsense about the whole unbirthday. And then, it's just, you have to really pay attention to catch everything that they're saying and all the humor that's in it. And then they're just whimsical, like Dad said. That's the most fun scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, for me that would be the best and my favorite here for this one. The watch, the 2 days slow watch and putting all the things in it, and they pass the mustard. What do you must be mad? Lemon, yeah, and then they put so it's I like that a lot.
I have nothing to add. I would also put that as the best scene.
I have the White Rabbit House, and this is why.
It's a good scene too.
Alice has the ability to control her environment and how her environment reacts. And the scene really tells Alice that she has the ability to control how she reacts to things around her. And I think that's what the scene says. And so to me, that opens Alice for her growth throughout the remainder of the film.
Poor Bill.
I did not have that as my best scene, but I have it as my favorite scene. In a similar fashion, I found this to be somewhat humorous, but also enlightening and fun. And I guess I just enjoyed seeing the White Rabbit really kind of like freak out during the middle of the film, because it gave me more exposure, particularly other than in brief sections, to Bill Thompson's work. And so I thought, as far as enjoyableness, that ranked fairly high for me.
Exposure and briefs in the same sentence, Tom.
So you were thinking about me exposing in my briefs? And you wanted to bring that up of your own volition? You're admitting that in open court, sir?
It was not a thought I really wanted, but it was
Yet
there.
you decided to disclose this, so why is that my problem? Moving on, other favorite scenes.
I had Tea Party.
Most indelible moment, I have the Queen of Hearts. I don't know why. I can't say with any great certainty. It may just be its placement within the greater timeline of the film, that it's the note that you kind of leave on, but it is certainly the loudest and I guess most obnoxious and boisterous character in the film.
For a movie that isn't really, entrenched in a real plot or story or any of that, there is a lot of indelibility and iconography within the film, whether we're talking the White Rabbit, the rabbit hole itself, the Queen, the Cheshire Cat, the Caterpillar. There's just a lot of the Mad Hatter and the Hare. There's a lot of things that stand the test of time in our memories, or at least in mine, I would say. But for me, the indelible piece of this film has always been the walrus and the carpenter. That's kind of just the thing. Probably because it just horrified me as a kid. They don't pack any punches to devour the little baby oysters. And it's this little story within a story, dream within a dream sequence, and I think the music's probably the best in that scene compared to the rest of the movie. So that's just kind of always struck me as the indelible moment of this thing.
Mine is Queen of Hearts, but it's as much for the King of Hearts as for the Queen of Hearts.
That's right.
Yes, you would resonate or connect with the emasculated man.
And I also have the Queen of Hearts more than anything because I like off with your head.
Completely avoided the subject.
Why should I go down that rabbit hole?
Well, that looks like a great place for our second break. We will be right back. Before we jump back into the episode, and before we get to the Stanley Rubric in a minute, if you're ever curious about our Master Greatest Movies of All Time list that has every graded movie we've ever discussed on the show, there's a link in the episode description of every episode of this show, or you can go to RonnieDuncanStudios.com and find us the top entry on the Greatest Movie of All Time podcast show page. That has the grades we've done so far for all 290 movies we've graded, and we continue to add more each week. Make sure to check that out as we go and follow along. Dad, do we have anyone to remember this week?
Yes. Chuck Russell, 74. American film director. The Mask, The Blob, Eraser. Producer and screenwriter as well.
And as of today, we had another addition to the list. Glenn Hansard, 56, Irish musician. He was a member of the Swell season and the Frames, starred in the movie once, and was the Oscar winner in 2007 for original song for Falling Slowly.
Yeah, one of the better Oscar night performances that I can remember. Him and it's a duet. It's a very powerful song. And, the type of film that probably a lot of people weren't super familiar with at the time, but they became familiar with it after that performance because it was really, really powerful. So I would suggest anybody go out and on YouTube, pull that thing up, because it was just, if I go in my memory through all the Oscar performances, that's certainly probably the first place I would go.
It is certainly before I started really watching the Oscars much more regularly as far as the actual award season, let alone paying attention to it, because this was late stage high school for me and I hadn't quite gotten into that sort of thing quite yet. I frankly had just kind of started maybe the year before really what I would say starting to watch adult films and not adult films. So take your mind off that, Dad, since you seem to think that my exposure is high on this episode. But yes, adult content films.
And I also have to, because wait, I'm in the VHS lounge, right? Eraser, there it is, right there. So a tribute to the late director there. Good old Arnold. I think James Caan is the bad guy in this one.
That'd be interesting.
Vanessa Williams, too, the beautiful Vanessa Williams.
The Mask is not a movie that I grew up with. It just was slightly ahead of me. I think it was, 1995? So I would have been about 5 years old. But I know it was a movie that, like, the kids a couple of years older than me really loved. And it was during that peak Jim Carrey run where he had Dumb and Dumber and he had Liar Liar and he had The Mask. And he had all these big movies basically back to back. Yeah, Ace Ventura. And for that matter, even though I think the movie's terrible, Batman Forever.
Yes. Which I have in here too somewhere. But also that's the introduction of Cameron Diaz, I believe. If it's not her first movie, it's like her first big introduction to the scene.
In The Mask?
The Mask, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify because we'd thrown out both that and Eraser, and I'm like,
right, yes.
Cameron Diaz and Arnold Schwarzenegger were in a movie together?
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, maybe. I don't think so, but...
Any more than Schwarzenegger and DeVito?
Well, there. Okay, but that was supposed to be a comedy.
Well, for that matter, Phil Hartman and Arnold Schwarzenegger being in
And
the same
don't
film.
forget Sinbad.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true. That's true.
And Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, yeah, Jake Lloyd. Ugh. But we remember these here fondly for their contributions with a moment of silence in their honor. Thank you. All right, let's move to best funniest lines. First up, I have the doorknob. Read the directions, and directly you will be directed in the right direction.
I don't think. Then you shouldn't talk. The Mad Hatter.
Alice, it would be so nice if something would make sense for a change. That should be stamped on every lawyer's forehead.
Alice, of all the silly nonsense, this is the stupidest tea party I've ever been to in all my life.
Alice, if I had a world of my own, everything would be nonsense. Nothing would be what it is because everything would be what it isn't. And contrary-wise, what it is, it wouldn't be, and what it wouldn't be, it would. You see?
I have a line from Alice. I give myself very good advice, but I very seldom follow it. Yes, I know, Data. Somehow that resonated with me.
Yeah, I was just wondering how you picked that one. Alice, curiosity often leads to trouble.
Dodo. Ahoy! And other nautical expressions.
White Rabbit. I'm late. I'm late. For a very important date. No time to say hello, goodbye. I'm late, I'm late, I'm late.
The Cheshire Cat and was talking about the state of Alice in Wonderland. He says, "We're all mad here. I'm mad. You're mad."
I have one more. Queen of Hearts. I warn you, child. If I lose my temper, you lose your head. Understand?
I have
All
one
right.
from the White Queen.
Okay, go.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you can go. I have one more.
Why, sometimes I believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast.
That's a great one. Okay, I'll end my quotes with the walrus. The time has come, my little friends, to talk of other things, of shoes and ships and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot, and whether pigs have wings. Callooh, Calais, come run away with cabbages and kings.
Ooh, he sings even. Wow. I
For
have
that
one more with
matter,
the door.
You have not lived till you've heard Kieran do Cartman singing.
Oh, I haven't done that in a while.
I don't think my mother would understand the reference for Cartman.
She doesn't understand the reference. Do you have any idea who Cartman
No,
is?
I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have one last line with the door. The door says, "Why, it's simply impassable." Alice says, "Why, don't you mean impossible?" "No, I do mean impassable. Nothing's impossible."
That brings us to the Stanley rubric. Legacy is up first. Legacy is a measure of the legacy of the film approximately 5 years after it came out to today. So roughly 1956 to today. What is the legacy of this film as shared between two equal yet separate groups? The industry and the audience, 5 and 5 points apiece for a total of 10. Dad, would you like to go first or second?
Second.
Yeah, I know.
I want to see how bad you do.
Yeah, this is a difficult one to quantify, particularly on an industry level. Even with the cult following aside, which we'll get to when we get to audience, and we didn't get a chance, unfortunately, Kieran, for the famous office poll that we would usually every week.
This one would have done well, too.
We were on our way to the Green Bay Packers shareholder meeting on Monday, and so we had to delay the staff meeting to next week. That being said, on an industry level, nobody's really promoted from this. I don't think, because it technically did not make back its money, that Disney was really high on this movie or had some sort of financial windfall. They had it from other movies. I think they made this as part of their staple because they spent so long to make it, and they didn't want to lose that, basically what they'd invested. But I don't think it's a particularly high industry value movie outside of basically Disney parks. The book itself, the characters, the cultural sachet that it holds, I wonder to a degree how much is from the movie and how much is from the books, and how much that each of those is kind of seeped into culture as a result of that. I think there's an argument to be made that because this was a cult following by supposed tastemakers in the 60s and 70s, that some of the phrases that we know of and are much more colloquially used are a result of the fact that people with some level of taste making introduced them into the culture because they liked this movie. I know I'm jumping all over the place. So let's just say from an industry level, because it's pretty centralized to Disney, I'm going to give it a 1.5 rating because it does have some resonance, but it's not in the top 10 animated films that anyone would necessarily think of even Disney animated classics. They're going to go through maybe even before the modern ones. Kieran was mentioning several before, but Peter Pan, Dumbo, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella. You can name a handful off
Jungle
pretty
Book.
easily. Sure. Before you get to this movie, I just don't think it holds that level of sway. So I'll give it a 1.5 there. As far as the audience, because it has some level of cultural seepage, but again, it's hard to put a finger exactly on where that came from, I'm going to say this is a 3, and I'm going to give this a 4.5 for now.
Just a question on it. The 1.5, does it factor in the Burton remake and all the money that it made?
I separate those two things out like they're almost completely different things, because as far as I can recall, the Burton movie is much more focused, instead of being like a shot-for-shot remake of a live action like a lot of the Disney remakes tend to be. My understanding is that was borrowing much more from the first book, and then they did the second book as the sequel, and so that it's more of a adaptation version. But then again, I don't know.
Do you think it makes as much money as it does without the Disney animated movie existing?
It's hard to say. Did people go out to see that movie because it was associated with Disney, or because it was Johnny Depp at the height of his fame with Tim Burton attached?
No, I just don't know that project gets greenlit if the animated movie doesn't exist. If it's just the book, and it is very hard to separate the book from the animated film, and not separate, but I'm saying like where is the success derivative from? Is it from the book? But I think that the animated movie gave it that Disney stamp and that Disney property, and called focus and attention to the book, and put the book in a modern conscious. It acted as a gateway to it.
I'm not sure about that, Kieran. I have a tendency to think that if you went up to most people, you'd get a larger portion of them, and then ask about Alice in Wonderland. I think there might be more people that would say, "Oh, wasn't that Lewis Carroll," as opposed to Walt Disney.
Oh, I don't know about that.
So I want to.
A lot of kids read the book.
Yeah, that's tricky. I mean, we don't know the answers to these things, but and this is another question I don't know the answer to. But without the animated movie existing, does Jefferson Airplane write the White Rabbit song? Like, are they writing that? Now, the answer is maybe they do. Like, maybe they just, their knowledge is of the book, and the movie existing wouldn't have affected their artistic interpretation of it. I don't know. I really think the Disney film popularizes that to a certain entity.
Thank you for bringing that up, because if there's anything cementing the idea that this film was watched by people taking either acid or smoking pot,
drugs,
that song is it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
it's hard. This is hard.
I think that I'm not quite at your level. I think the industry did, in the long run, pick it up. I mean, the fact that it became more popular and rose in rankings has to be taken into account. So I'm at a 2.5 for the industry, and I'm at a 2.5 for the public because there does seem to be a strong feeling among a group of people as to the wonders or beauty of this film. So I'm at a 5 overall. I thought I was going to be too low from comparison to you, but okay.
I also gave it a 2.5 for the industry. It was remade or used, or the story somehow, or the lines from the story have been reused and reused. There were at least 5 when I was doing some research today, at least 5 adaptations or remakes of the film. And so it had to be popular or they wouldn't keep remaking it. So I do think that there was some legacy with it. So I had a 2.5. As far as audiences, it was a big disappointment. I think people weren't really interested at the time that it came out to go to the film. Maybe it wasn't a big draw for kids. I don't know because it is so quirky. But I also had a 2.5, so I had a 5.
So is this kind of one of the ways that I've decided how I'm going to tackle this, and I don't know if it's right or not, but this is how I'm just decided I'm going to do it. I'll look at like Disney animated films as a whole, and how like the peak performance of one would do in one of these categories, and then where does Alice in Wonderland fall within that grade? So that's kind of just a little parameter I have kicking around in my head while I'm doing it. I do think there's some iconography to this film. If you're doing this task with the Stanley Rubric and all that, you kind of have to make a decision. Are you going to credit the novel? Are you going to credit the movie? Or are you going to allow them to share some credit? I'm operating under the idea that okay, the novel creates, Lewis Carroll's novel creates, and then we're going to stamp it with the Walt Disney, and then now they've kind of merged into this entity, and I'm going to give them both credit for it. So I went with a 3 in the audience, and I went with a 3 in the industry, both. And for a lot of the reasons that we brought up, the reimagining, the society finding this, scholars looking at it and whatnot from there, and then just the remake, the iconography of the Queen and the caterpillar and the Tweedledee Tweedledums. A lot of the characters have survived, where there's plenty of Disney movies where they haven't. So, yeah, I went with the 3 and a 3 for a total of a 6.
So that will be a 5.13 average between the 4 of us. Let's move to impact and significance. This is a measure of the impact and significance in the initial 5 years after the film's release. Roughly the impact and significance in those 5 years of what the film was, as shared between the same 2 groups, the industry and the audience, 5 and 5 points apiece, for a total of 10. Since I went first last time, Dad, would you like to lead here?
Okay. For the industry, I started was the original 2.5 that I originally did for Legacy, except that I thought about it. And I could not think of a film that was a book adaptation that drew this much criticism because it deviated so much from the book that predated this. So I think this actually started the whole contest between movie versus book and started kind of that.
No, Wizard of Oz.
Gone with the Wind is the same year.
Yeah, and again...
Get me started on the difference between the book and the movie. I'm Gone with the Wind.
What about Frankenstein?
Whenever they started developing movies from books, they had levels of criticism for the movie not being immediately faithful to the book.
Okay, so I'll stick with my 2.5. And for the public, I'm at a 1.5. So I'm at a 4 overall. The public just did not want to see this.
On a Legacy, it's really hard for me to define. It did get one Oscar nomination. I think in an era where animated films were a little bit more, other than special Oscars, treated differently, this may have gotten some other awards attention, particularly for the animation style and the rest of it, because to a degree, like when we put the animators first as the best performances, it's not just because we had nowhere else to go. I do actually think that the animation in this was impressive for the time in which it was done, and it took quite a long time to do. That being said, I don't know if I can go too much more than kind of the median point on an industry level, because it didn't feel like this was in an era where they were going to lead to any sequels. So that's kind of off the table immediately. Nobody got really much bigger. This was just kind of inside the Disney machine. We reused the same voice cast acting that we would in several other films. And we're just going to kind of churn out yet another film that, for the most part, it did at least some business. It didn't lose a ton of money. It lost some, but not to the level that you might think with a quote-unquote flop, especially given how much Disney invested in making the film. So I think it just kind of, whether you leap back and forward, it kind of stays at that median point of a 2.5. Then, for movies that lost money, I can't really go above the median line at all. I will say it lost at least, what was it, $600,000, or what, it was like $3 million to make the film, 2.4 in overall rentals. I would say that's probably worthy of a 2, so I'm again at a 4.5.
I'll go next. So here's what's tough with this one. The audience didn't respond to it, but this is I mean, Cinderella is the film before this and is one of Disney's most successful films. So they are striking while the iron is hot. And the park is going to open up in 3 years. Like, the park is being built. They're literally building an amusement park based on Disney to come to this, and they can't put out a movie that make money. That's tough. So from the audience, yeah, I'm going to go a 1.5 for the audience here on this one, because it's just it's pretty baffling that they couldn't at least make money. I get it's such a far cry from Cinderella. Cinderella's the princess movie, and someday it's 1.5. I'll go with the median, like you said, with getting the Oscar nomination, though it is a little bit, we're in the zone of Disney makes a movie, give it the score nomination kind of thing. So I'm not going crazy with it. So that'll be a 2.5 there, 1.5, 2.5 for 4.
And I didn't really break it out. I have a 4 overall for this one as well. It did have some impact. Disney's always had in the theme parks. They've always had, Alice in Wonderland and the Mad Hatter, but outside of the theme park, I'm not sure when kids go there they have any clue who they are, because I don't think anybody watches this movie anymore. And they continue to put it out there, maybe hoping to drum up some support. But I think if you asked your general 10-year-old, they wouldn't have a clue who this was. And they may see them there, but don't have any idea who the Mad Hatter is, other than it's a fun tea party. I know that there was some styling of the animation that went on with the woman who did a lot of the color and the styling of the different animated pieces, and it was a little impactful in that way. But outside of that, I just think it's just kind of a bomb. So 4.
So that's a 4.13 average between the 4 of us. Let's move to Novelty. Novelty is a measurement of anything original about the movie, whether that be the production value or how it was put together, or maybe even the score or acting or anything of the kind. Usually we talk a lot about how the story is possibly original or the subject material, and then the execution. For both, we measure that at 5 and 5 points apiece for a total of 10 here. Kieran, would you like to start us off?
I'm going to defer on this one if I can.
Okay.
I'm no Matt Hasselbeck today.
All right. I guess I'll try and navigate these muddy waters. I think this was an audacious project for them to take on. Snow White, Sleeping Beauty hadn't come out yet, but you had to figure with how long their timelines were, it was another choice that they had made. And they were adapting fairy tale novels and such that, other than Fantasia, I think for the era in which it was made, it's the most audacious, hard to make subject material that they had. So I have to give them a little bit of credit there, because you're trying to bring this fantasy world of pure ridiculousness and nonsense and make it appealable to children, even though it's one of these darker fairy tale types. So it's like adapting Hansel and Gretel and not having the witch try and eat them the entire time, because that wouldn't be Disney. Which is a hard thing to do. It's much easier of a concept to take a young girl who's been mistreated, give her a glass slipper, and all of a sudden she's the princess, or she runs away with Prince Charming. I think it's also easier to understand good and bad characters. So when you have a Wicked Witch and the Mirror and Snow White, you have very black and white story structure at a time, especially as I've argued before, that was reflective of the context the world was in. We liked good guys and bad guys. That's why most of the Westerns had very obvious black hats and white hats. It was very post-World War II, where all the characters were very big and very obvious as to what side they were on. The Americans and Franklin Roosevelt were good, and Hitler was bad. And our movies reflected what we wanted from that at the time. This is not that movie. There's no real protagonist, because Alice is kind of... She kind of is her own worst enemy at times. And there's no great antagonist, per se, except the Queen trying to take everyone's head off. So it's a much more complicated movie in an era that wasn't maybe ready for this. So I'm going to give it actually some degree of points up on that, and I'm going to go with a 4. I don't think I can give it full points, because it is somewhat an adaptation for multiple ways that they've already tried to do this multiple times and failed, and this didn't really succeed where the others had failed either. So it's not the most audacious thing, but for Disney to go outside the box and really try something like this was a bit audacious for them, and for animation, and for children's movies at the time. On an execution level, though, we talk about how big other movies are as far as like their musical scores and set pieces that we remember, and how forgettable most of the music is in this, how forgettable some of the characters are. They are translatable, but how memorable and how staying are they with you necessarily? So I'm not going to give full points on that. I'm going to kind of straddle the fence a little bit and say a 2.5. So I have a 6.5 here.
Okay. So our first section, I think this is a pretty ambitious and bold choice for Disney. And if I'm looking at it compared next to the other Disney animated era films, there's only one film that I find to be more ambitious and more audacious, and that's Fantasia, which is truly just the animation is following the orchestral pieces, and we are in they're not even set pieces, they are different segments throughout the whole film, and that didn't do well financially either, but it's actually artistically really, really well done. This is right there, because most of the others are copy and paste princess stories and Someday My Prince Will Come and so on and so forth. And then there's, you mix in your Fox and your Hounds and your Lion Kings and such as you go. But this is like truly like a different type of approach for a Disney animated film. So I give a lot of credit there for that. And they were leaning on animation with the two, which I think is cool. So I'm going to go a 4 on that one. Now, for execution, Tom, you what you said stole my thunder a little bit. There's a big missed opportunity here. And had they connected with a few iconic Disney hit songs, they would have had something here, and they didn't do that. You know, with my 10-month-old, we watch Disney sing-alongs all the time, and it's like a little highlight reel of Disney films, and it takes you through the eras. Alice in Wonderland's nowhere to be found because there's no straight hit in this. There's no hit in this movie. It's a bunch of little songs kind of strung together, and while the score is very strong and is Oscar nominated, they missed big time not having a famous Disney song here in this one. So execution, I'm going to give a while the animation is awesome, that missed opportunity, I gotta ding it up here. So it's going to get the 2.5 there. So we're talking a 6.5 total.
That sounds familiar.
I actually scored them together again because for me this was really difficult to try to discern. And as far as novelty, I mean, we'd had all kinds of other animation prior to this. I don't think this is one of their best pieces. There wasn't anything unique necessarily about it. As Kieran said, the music wasn't there the way the others had been. And so I gave it a 5.
Up to me, huh? Novelty. I actually thought it was more novel than, I mean, it was a pretty big swing, but then again, it was also a pretty big miss. So I'm at a 4 for originality. I thought it did a really nice job. Now, execution was very disjointed. The storyline is non-existent. It's little snippets of hearing lines and trying to find something enjoyable out of it. The music was it the year before or the year after? Song of the South with Uncle Remus and Zippity-Doo-Dah.
Oscar award-winning song.
Yeah. They had no problem there.
Song of the South's 46, so it was 5 years prior.
Okay. Well, still, it does not leave much as far as execution for me. Animation is beautiful, so I can't give it too low, but I'm going to go to 2.5, and I'm at a 4. I'm at 6.5 overall.
You all wanted me to go first to set the table, and 2 of you just copied me verbatim.
I just am going by what it was.
Our fearless leader.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor.
Yeah. Yet again, we have a number and a 0.13, but this time it's a 6.13. Our third category in a row like that. Let's move to classicness. This is a category about how well or not something has aged. Because we felt at one time that it was easier for things to have aged poorly, because most things age poorly, or at least we don't give them the grace to age better than they seemingly do. We started at a median point of a 6 instead of a 5, and this category lives in the gray, full of nuance. So we turn to our senior graying nuance correspondent, Dana.
Thank you. And I'm not graying at this point. I'm basically white.
Yes, you are very white.
Starting at the 6. A British story about animals and weird characters and whatever. I can't give it up or down either way. So I remain at a 6. Except that, does it age well? In the days of TikTok and social media, I really do not think any child is going to sit through this. They're going to go, I'm bored. Can we watch something else? Yeah. So I'm going to give it a 1.5 down for that. You might get a kid to watch it because it's pretty and it looks good and whatever. So I'm at a 4.5.
What about the King and the Queen? The
You're
dominant female leader and the feeble king that's following her around? Female protagonists throughout? No, none of that.
You might get some kids going, hey, Mom, that's you and Dad.
It's so late at the end of the movie, too. You might have lost interest before that even happened.
I don't think that this film was aimed at a certain level of diversity, but I certainly don't have any problem with what was presented here, given the amount of different characters and animals and other things that were given life and voice during the course of the film. There's just nothing here as far as that is concerned, as far as subject material or story, that I find objectionable or problematic per se. Instead, what I would say is that I would agree the places where I give an emotional classicness is usually in like comedies where the jokes no longer work or something. I kind of am going to treat this a little similarly because the music and such is so forgettable for a Disney film where it's so tied closely to do you remember certain songs. We started off the show by doing Following the Leader from Peter Pan. And there were other Disney songs that you have all the time. I'm sure, given the opportunity, if we thought hard enough, Cinderella probably has a song we all remember, and Sleeping Beauty, and Snow White has something. And
bare necessities.
Sure.
Bitty
sure.
boppity boo. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Lady and the Tramp is This is the Night.
This does not have that song or have that emotional conveyance that draws you back to it at any point. I don't think it's aged poorly, but because of that, I'm going to drop this to a 5.
Okay, so anything that's going to have this, I'm going back to my VHS for the listener out there. This black diamond in the corner here that says the classics, that's getting a high score for me. This is a Walt Disney classic here. We have a female protagonist. There's nothing about the movie that doesn't age well for me. Any of these Disney movies are going to get a bigger score just because they're inherently are classic. Now, Song of the South, as Dana brought up before, probably wouldn't do great on this category. No Black Diamond in the top of Song of the South, by the way. So we'll leave that on aside. I can't go the full 10 because of what Tom brought up about the music. There's no big Disney song here. I really hit it up in the last category for that, but I will ding in that. But a lot of these Disney films that don't dabble with the problematic, which it certainly does not, are going to be 10s for me. So this will be a 9 because of the song factor. So a 9 for classic.
Just remember, Kieran, what Mark Twain said about classics. It's what everyone wants on their bookshelf, but no one ever reads.
Well, it's on my bookshelf, and we'll get to rewatchability in a bit, I guess.
Yeah. So with Classicness, I said it has withstood the test of time. It has been remade and remade. There are lines from it that are spoken in everyday language. There are little quips that are taken from it. It's had, like I said, all these adaptations. It was a cult classic for a while. And I don't know about the film, but the book is still good. It's still better than the movie and still brings enjoyment if you read it. And so I think that's all sort of wrapped up together, and I had a 6 for it.
She made a good point. Tweedledee, Tweedledum, the rabbit hole.
But those are usually attributed more to legacy than they are necessarily to classicness.
Yeah. All right, I'll stay with what I had, but that was a point that I didn't consider, though. But okay.
Wouldn't you know it, we ended on a 6.13 average between the four of us. Finally, we move to rewatchability. Insert your own subjective test here. We have a test that most people have used that are guests on the show, named after a guest of ours on this current episode. So we'll let you lead, since this seemingly was at least a movie you said was seared into your brain from a young age.
Sure was. I mean, as a kid, I think that there's a certain age where it's easy for things to be rewatchable, clearly. You know, for Dana, it was Peter Pan. For me, it was this. But I don't know that I'm going to use that too heavily in this category today, because I think we approach this for the grown adult for the most part. This is not, and I'm really banging the drum with the music here, but that is going to be one of the things that makes a Disney movie most rewatchable is the music. You know, something like Little Mermaid, you know, you're putting on because you want to get to the big songs. You want to get to part of your world, and that's like the moment. It plays like a Broadway show. And this is a fun one to revisit from a nostalgic standpoint, and it's not a surprise that the people who had no nostalgic connection to this did not enjoy their stay at the Alice in Wonderland Hotel. It's gonna get some points just for being a Disney animated alone. It's gonna lose some points for not having some of the music and all that. So I'll put the rewatchability in its cool 74 minutes at a 7. Feels right.
Well, I think my dad might be harsher on this film than I am. I will admit that there were stretches of this where I was a little bored. I don't think I'm quite as bored as boring. Did I mention it was boring? But the only major thing I find that this film has going for it to hold certain levels of attention is the fact that it's only roughly 75 minutes. And so as a result, I'm going to say this is a 3.5.
I personally would not have to watch this movie again. As far as rewatchability, I think I'm going to give it a 1.5. I actually fell asleep and had to try to keep myself awake during this movie. It just didn't hold my interest, and I don't say that often about films. So, yeah. Sorry, guys.
Normally you're just criticizing all the Asian films for being weird.
Okay, Dana, take it away.
Here's my problem. I don't want to watch it again.
It's probably safe to say you will never watch this again. I can't imagine.
It's not safe to say, because my family will back me up about this. If I ever have a little granddaughter and she's sitting on my lap and she wants to watch this, I'll watch it because I'm a big sucker. All the women in my life, even for that matter, my son, the dogs, everybody knows I'm the easy mark. Because no matter what I say or do, I will cave, because I just am a people pleaser for the most part. Even if I grumble and don't try to make it seem that way.
That is not a word I would use for you.
Well, if you're the son of an alcoholic, maybe it does fit.
Maybe.
So I would love to give it the 1.5 you did, Chris, but I'm going to go with a 2.5 simply because I'm going to sit and watch it. I'm going to be uncomfortable and trying to figure out how to not be critical. But, if she wants to watch it and sitting on my lap.
True enough.
Yeah.
True enough.
Okay. Now that we had that odd display.
Especially if she looks like Sarah.
That is a 3.63 average between the four of us. So we finally break our 0.13 streak. Audience score for this one, we had a 7.3 from our IMDb users, now that we don't have the Google numbers to rely on anymore. And we had a 78% for our Rotten Tomato users, giving us a 7.55. So to repeat the categories, we had a 5.13 average for Legacy, a 4.13 for Impact and Significance, a 6.13 for Novelty, a 6.13 for Classicness, a 3.63 for Rewatchability, and a 7.55 for Audience Score, giving us a final total of 32.7, and currently placing it on our list at number 285 between The Quiet Man and Wedding Crashers.
Wow. Wow.
It also becomes
boy.
the lowest ranking film that Kieran has ever been on. Actually, that's not true. I take that back. Saw is... No, I'm sorry. It dethroned Saw. Saw is 2 ahead of Alice in Wonderland.
Wow. I feel better than I felt on the Saw episode. The Saw episode, I felt like a just like a jobber. Like I was just taking a beating from the masses there. That was just 3 people who just loathed the movie and someone who liked it. You know, wow. So different vibes than the Saw one was. But hey, let's run it back for Dumbo, you know? Why not?
There you go.
I don't think I hated Saw. It was not a film I wanted to return to, but I don't think I hated it. Jylan hated it. That was quite apparent. I think she gave it a 0 for rewatchability.
Yeah.
All right. But if you have any other questions, thoughts, comments, you can find us at greatestalltimemoviepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on any of our socials at gmodepodcast, or you can write us at ronnieduncanstudios.com/gmodepodcast. Let's move quickly to remaining questions for Alice in Wonderland, for which I have none. I didn't really feel that inquisitive when I finished the movie. I was more relieved.
Yeah, there was no sequel for this one. I'm good.
The only thing I could say is that, well, at least this is better than anything that I've ever seen Tim Burton and Johnny Depp do.
I'm not even going to say that.
What is?
I think the original Batman, while I have my issues with it,
All right.
Beetlejuice.
I would enjoy watching that more. I would enjoy watching Batman Returns. Frankly, Nightmare Before Christmas isn't terrible. Like, as much as I've criticized Johnny Depp and Tim Burton for things before, and the Pirates movies are actually fun. I know we make fun of Captain Jack and all of that. The first 3 are a good time. Like, I really enjoyed those when I was a kid.
We don't like Beetlejuice?
It's okay. It's fine.
Not a Beetlejuice fan.
And Johnny Depp, he got Platoon, too. So, you know, bit part, but
Okay.
not exactly a Johnny Depp movie. But I can't imagine you guys are big Nightmare on Elm Street people.
No.
No.
Not at all. First off, I've never seen it, and I'm hoping I don't have to, but the longer this show goes, the more likely that I am to have to see a bunch of horror movies. It almost happened this year for the CLP that I was going to have to watch a bunch of them all of a sudden, like right in a row to fill out my list.
Oh. Spooky season's right around the corner.
I'm good. Probably my least favorite holiday.
Yeah, the first horror film I ever saw was Rosemary's Baby, because as a 6-year-old, my babysitter wanting to watch it on the ABC, parental guidance suggested, and I'm 6, and she's going, "Oh, let's just watch this." Yeah, that was a good time.
But hearing no other remaining comments or questions, I want to thank both of our guests for being back with us for their 20th and 22nd times. Just to again remind everybody what you're working on and where they can find you.
I'll just put a public service announcement out there. Don't hire babysitters who push Roman Polanski movies. That's number one. No, I'm Kieran B from Best Picture Cast. That's where you can find us and all our stuff there. We have we're in our 7th year of a podcast. We got a lot of content out there, so check us out. Follow us on all the socials. We also have a Patreon. We have some good, fun content. We have the VHS Lounge here. Bring a guest in. They pick a VHS off the wall. We watch it and record. It's a fun little offshoot there. So patreon.com/Best Picture Cast, or just download the app and search Best Picture Cast. Me and RDB, who Tom mentioned before, do a little spin-off where we rank classic album tracks. So like we'll pick a classic album. We just did the Beatles' first album, and then we'll rank every track on the album from best song to weakest song. So we have some fun with that too.
By the way, just a thought. You thought about the sequel to your show, which is, was it the Best Picture Cast, where you go through each year and you review the movies that were also nominated?
I think there are already other shows. That is not what they do.
We're not a Who Shoulda Won podcast.
I think it would be fun to see you guys just like yell at each other about which film was or was not better than the Best Picture winner.
Well, in our next step of the podcast, maybe we'll be in some form of that. So we'll see. But yeah. But anyway, we appreciate all of your listens out there, and then Tom and Dana, and happy to finally be on with Christine. Appreciate you guys having me on as much as you do, and help us get our brand out there.
By the way, the hoodie is royal blue.
Oh, baby. Now you're talking my language. I'm pumped. And I'm a hoodie guy. I'm a hoodie type of guy. So, and we're approaching hoodie season. So
you have to let Tom know your size, and we'll get that ordered for you.
I already know his size, and I have his address. It's all taken care of. You just need to actually procure it.
Yeah, I will. I have to go down to the shop on the 9th of August to deliver the stuff for the office logo, so I will get Kieran's sweatshirt made.
And then you just got to sneak a spotted cow in the pouch.
In the package? Oh, no.
I was already planning on it.
Ah, damn, I ruined it.
We can't ship that stuff.
No, the only, let's say, clothing size that I'm not aware of that I might need is his jacket size or his sleeve length for when he gets to 50 for the gold jackets.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The gold jackets.
Yeah, if the podcast goes long enough that he can get to 50, I mean, at that point, you might as well.
I got to stave off Peterson, you know?
Yeah.
Well, by that time, I'll be sitting over the... What? What?
What do you mean by then?
Oh, fuck you.
All right. But just a quick reminder, Kieran will be back with us in October for George Stevens' Giant. He'll be on with the aforementioned Peterson, W. Hill, so he'll maintain his current standing or lead over him.
Such an internal crisis over whether to watch my 4K UHD copy of Giant or my double VHS cassette tape of Giant. I just don't know.
Since you normally watch these films twice, why not just do it?
It's a long movie. Yeah, this is true. This is true. I'll be at a crisis in between now and then.
But Tom, have you actually watched all of Giant?
Yes.
Okay, because twice I've tried to watch it with you and you fell asleep both times.
That happened one time.
That happens every day, every week. Tom,
I stayed up through Alice in Wonderland last week and you fell asleep.
It's because I was bored.
Dana, that's what we call a giant nap.
Yeah, with snoring included.
Sorry, I am who I am. Usually when we get to Friday and watch a movie and I start, drinking or something, I'm about ready to pass out.
Yeah, I know. And all you kids kept giving me a bad time because I would fall asleep on Friday nights in my chair after a bourbon. And I'm like, yeah, well, okay.
And Mom, you'll be back with us next week for our tiebreaker between Casablanca and Rear Window.
Love both of those movies. It's going to be a tough battle.
You're the first one to actually decide to sit in the chair for a tiebreaker.
Me?
Nobody else wanted to do it.
Oh, no. I'm good.
Everybody has run away from any of the tiebreakers. I feel it's because they would have to watch multiple movies in like a week.
Well, in fact, I recently had a trip to Europe, and on the plane over, Rear Window was actually playing on the plane, and I watched it. But I have seen this movie, I don't know, at least 24 times, and it never ceases to entertain me. And Casablanca is just romantic, and I don't know, I like the piece of history. I think I learned something every time I watch it about the history of the time that was done, and I think that the characters make that movie for me. So I think it'll be an interesting show.
Now, for the sake of it, I know that somebody is eventually going to have their anniversary episode and they have to do a war film and whatever else. I'll make my pitch that either Casablanca or The Lord of the Rings would qualify as a war film.
Very fair. Very fair. We're also looking at potentially Schindler's List for that too.
Okay, that would also make sense.
And I do believe, and I this isn't confirmed, but we are discussing Casablanca as our finale. I think that's the plan with that, to make that the grand finale.
Wow. Yeah.
And then you got to do the full rankings episode.
Oh yeah. Now that's going to be broken up into episodes. We're not doing that.
I was going to say, because the
way.
only way that you guys could do a full rankings episode is if basically you bring in sleeping bags and spend the weekend together.
Yeah. Well, when we did the 45, it was 7.5 hours of recording.
I
And
know.
I almost lost co-hosts and friends over it. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But, all right. Final remaining thoughts for the week, Dad.
I'm enjoying doing my own podcast. Sidebar, I kind of plugged it in. I mean, for anybody who's concerned or have any interest, my schedule or our office schedule, we get scheduled out 5 to 6 months in advance. So even though I decided it was going to be a set time for a live broadcast every Monday, my schedule didn't always allow that. So I've had to miss a few, but for the most part, I've had a wide range of subjects, and I have a couple ideas on things that are coming up. I think my next episode I'm going to be, or which will probably be, will be broadcast before we release, will be on being a parent or father and having a career and the struggles associated with that.
All right. And that is live on Mondays on his YouTube channel. That is Sidebar by DWD at Sidebar by DWD on YouTube for anybody that wants to catch that, because the audio versions haven't quite made their way online just yet.
Yeah.
What time on Mondays?
11
Central.
So that'll be noon for you.
Noon
Eastern time zone.
And I try to keep it pretty close to 30 minutes so that, I think after about 35 minutes, people get tired of hearing me.
You can watch those after the fact, though, on his YouTube channel. So even though they were live, they are able to be replayed after that as well. So if you can't catch it live, you certainly can catch it after the fact. A couple of personal things. First Watch Rewatch is ending its second season, I believe, the week after this comes out. So we will have done 8 episodes on The Good Wife Season 1. Unfortunately, Kieran, even though you made a suggestion, Sarah has already seen Burn Notice, so we can't do that one.
I love Burn Notice, at least the first 6 seasons.
Telling you, that finale is awesome. You got to watch that final season. The second to last season loses everybody, but that last season, it's like only 8 episodes, and it's killer. It's awesome.
Maybe eventually I'll move past it and be able to get there.
The season before that is weak. It's super weak, and it's like 20 episodes, so it's like it really loses people. But they come back and they say, let's finish this story in 8 episodes, and they crush it. So I highly recommend you check it out.
But that being said, we'll be picking our new show of whatever we're doing here coming up. I have a feeling that Sarah's going to probably pick season 1 of Dexter to go to next, but...
Whoa. Now we're talking. Another Miami show
to pick out.
Yeah.
But
we watched it when it first came out.
You never watched
No,
Dexter.
you didn't.
Yes, I did. I did
No,
too.
you didn't.
No,
Okay.
you did not. There's no way you would have watched that.
Yes, I did.
What is Dexter about, Mom? This
This
feels
guy
very
who
much like
goes
you
around-
saying... Okay, go
He's
ahead.
killing people. Yeah, he's like a incognito murderer.
Okay,
He's not wrong.
sure. But she has never watched it. I guarantee...
Yes, I came in while you guys were watching it and watched a couple of episodes with you. It's not that I was fascinated by it or would watch it every week, but I
But
knew the
Dad didn't
premise
even
of it.
finish season 1. Like, I tried to show it to him multiple times, and he didn't
No,
quite
I
get there
did.
because we... No, you did
And
not.
I watched 2 episodes of, was it season 3 with Lithgow?
That's season 4 with the Trinity Killer.
Best season of the show. Yeah, incredible. One of the
Yeah,
best.
I got
seasons of
through
anything.
about 2 episodes and I was so creeped out I couldn't finish.
So
because
creepy.
Lithgow's too fucking awesome.
So creepy.
He
He is
my
so
God.
good at everything that he does. American Treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now he gets to play Albus Dumbledore coming up this winter.
Yep.
Oh, well. But in addition to First Watch Rewatch, which will be coming up on its 3rd season here in the next few weeks, again, just reminding everybody we do have our episode that we just recorded live on Saturday. As like with Dana's show, even though it was recorded live, if you missed it live, you could certainly come back to it and watch it after the fact. We discussed Crazy Stupid Love, the 2011 rom-com with Steve Carell, Marissa Tomei, Julianne Moore, and of course, the always great Ryan Gosling. But that is all I have for this week, so that looks like a good spot to end it. Thank you for listening. I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Next week for our 325th episode, we once again break a tie. This time it's between 2 top 10 films on the overall list, Rear Window and Casablanca. Who will come out on top? It's anyone's guess. You won't want to miss that one, so watch ahead of the show by searching the Real Good app to find where it's streaming for you.
That's REELGOOD.
Please like, follow, rate, and review, or whatever on whichever platform you have so that more can join in our fun. You can also email the show at RonnieDuncanStudios.com or at GreatestAllTimeMoviePodcast@gmail.com, or find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Skies, Threads, or TikTok at the handle @GModePodcast. The Greatest Movie of All Time is a production of Ronnie Duncan Studios. Our show is mixed, edited, and written by Thomas Duncan. Our music is thanks to Purple Planet Music. Our distributor is Captivate FM. Our technical provider is Riverside FM.